Texture can be applied to gCADPlus landscape drawings in a number of different ways. Let's run through some of these. If, for example, you've drawn a circle as I have here, you can apply a colour to that circle and just set the property filled, and that will fill the circle with that colour. You could also, if you wanted to soften it a little, and that circle's been filled with colour 40, let me just draw another circle out here, and I'll pick its colour, and I'll change its colour to colour 40, and I'll set fill on, and you'll see that's very dark. This one here has a transparency set to 125, so we can soften the texture. So we apply a texture, if you like, by simply saying fill this shape, and then we can change its transparency to soften it. That's one way of putting texture into a drawing. I'd try and stay away a little from transparency, because if you put too much transparency in a drawing, it can get difficult for the PDF printing to work quickly. So it's probably better to soften a shape such as a circle or a polyline here by applying texture by a solid hatch pattern, and then soften it by selecting the true colour. Let's demonstrate how that's done. We'll kill it. We have a rectangle, a polyline, so we'll go draw, and this time we'll fill it by a hatch pattern. So we'll pick the polyline, right click, and we'll load the CAD ISO. In this case I'm working in a metric environment, so we'll fill it with a solid hatch pattern. That'll look horrible for the moment. Then we'll select that hatch pattern, come up here to colour, and what we'll do is say select colour, true colour, select a true colour, come up here into the box, and we'll set quite a soft yellowy colour and say OK, and unselect all. Can you see now we've softened it, we've applied a texture and softened it by doing that. I might then, I think, pick that hatch and say tools, arrange, and send that to the back. Now I've got my black polyline around the edge, so that area shows out nicely. I could get pretty much the same effect by coming over here, changing my transparency, say, to 50, and away we go. So we've got a very close colour. So I think probably softening by selecting true colour is possibly an easier way to work. So in that case there and that case there, we're applying texture by essentially filling the shape. You could pick a different hatch pattern. So in this case here, what I've done is draw a polyline, and I've hatched that area with a hatch pattern, a concrete hatch pattern. So that gives me, if you like, mulch will go right through that area. In this zone here, I've applied texture by applying a hatch pattern, a grass pattern. So all I did in this instance was to draw a polyline and hatch it. So let's eliminate that one, and let's show you how that's done. So this time it's draw, it's hatch, pick the polyline and pick the pattern that you want, in this case grass. Always concentrate on the scale here and adjust the scale. It's a meaningless value, but just adjust it so that you get a density in the 2 to 3 range, and not a very big number, or you'll get thousands of copies of the symbol in it. So I say OK, and the hatch pattern's gone in. You'll find the modify match properties very useful, because we can pick that grass hatch in there and then just match it like so. What that did was change the scale to a scale of 25 rather than the scale of 4. You could then eliminate if you want, or put the polyline better still on a layer, a non-printing layer or a hidden layer. So I'll move that onto, I've got a layer called LDIM at the moment, which is turned off, so that polyline disappears. So we put texture in here by applying a particular hatch pattern, a grass hatch pattern. We've got lots and lots of different hatch patterns in the file that we load. The boardwalk through here, the decking if you like, has been indicated by applying a hatch pattern, picking the line pattern. So there's the line hatch pattern for that area, and you can make the hatch pattern at an angle to get some better texture. So that in this symbol here, if we pick it and say edit that block and pick here, can you see that was some hatch patterning put into the center of the symbol? I'll close the block editor now. So we applied a texture by hatching at 45 degrees, and we then exploded it and broke the hatching up. The reason that it's quite handy to hatch a polyline, let's do that again. I'll draw a polyline, and maybe if I zoom in on this area here, I'll just draw a polyline like so. I'll close it. Hatching works much better. Well, it will work on a closed polyline, but not on an open polyline. And if we'll hatch it with a solid, so we'll draw, hatch, pick it, and go back to a solid hatch pattern. The reason for that is to make it obvious, and we'll pick a colour again. We'll pick one of these softer colours so it's not so hard on our eye, and then we'll unselect all. Now when we pick the solid pattern and the polyline, if I do that, you'll notice I've got two. If I click in here, I've got a polyline and the hatch. I can't pick the polyline very easily. Let me unselect all. So what I'll do is use my crossing window, as I did just then. I'll just regen for the moment, and crossing window, that picks the two. Hold the shift key down and click. That removes the hatch pattern from the selection set because the hatch was on top. Because this is a polyline that's hatched, and you see it's associative, so I can move my polyline around. I could add some extra vertices if I wanted to, as I've just done. So can you see I get a really, really nice shape? I could, if I wanted to, do some smooth curving. But can you see, actually I'll take that off because that's really a silly example, but what I can do is move my hatching like so. Can you see I can fit it into any area that I want and manipulate things, and the hatching is still there. So let's unselect all. There's that solid hatching. I fitted it into the corner. Well, clearly we don't need it anymore, and I'll eliminate that hatch. So can you see textures or hatching or patterning, whatever you want to call it, in the gCADPlus environment can be applied in lots of different ways. So I hope this little movie has helped explain how that's done.